Hello, CYMK listeners.
Welcome back. We're here with Gabriel Bailey and our special guest,
Roy Hanscom.
We're very glad to have you here today. So the reason you're here, do you want to tell us what you're doing today in San Angelo or this weekend? Or
It's the, is it the biannual ceramic symposium at the museum? And they bring in some guest artists to talk about ceramics. There's been a couple ceramic exhibits that will be up, and also have an exhibit of my work that will be up.
Yes, Roy is one of our exhibiting artists for the 38th annual San Angelo Ceramic Weekend.
yes, and you're in a permanent collection. You have been in 5 back-to-back of our national ceramic competitions. So you're a pretty well-known name around here. 6? Oh my god. I had 18, 19. Oh wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh wait, a 6. Oh,
we were looking at your website.
But who's
I
counting?
stalked you. Yeah, but 6 definitely.
Yes.
How did you get started in coming down to San Angelo and doing the SAMFA ceramic competitions?
Well, you're always entering shows. You start out as regional shows. They're easier to get into. And as you grow, you get the courage to try to enter a national show. And this is probably the best, or one of the best shows in the country.
Wow.
So it's like, if I could get into that would be really nice, And for a while, I did not get in. And it was like, okay, that's... take that as a challenge. I can do better. And I keep working and improving my work. And then one year I got in, and that felt real good. And I got in for 6 consecutive years or shows. So that would be 12 years. And it's just one way to make me keep working harder to have my work improve through the years.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Really inspirational. That's
I know,
great.
yeah. Just keep trying until you are a very large name in the ceramic world. Yeah.
Don't let not getting in discourage you. You just come back next year and you're better than ever, and you get in 6 times in a row.
Yeah, there's that old saying there's an art show and it's being jurred by somebody. Say it's a photography show. And the juror's coming in to jure it. And on the way in there, he gets bit by a dog. Okay, so psychologically, any picture of a dog is not getting in the show.
Yeah.
So just because you did not get in the show, it's not because your work is not good. It's just because it did not get picked by that individual juror, maybe what he was looking for. So you just got to take that and move on, and instead of being depressed, say, okay, I'll show you I'm going to do better, and just keep trying to get, improve as you go.
That's great.
So can we talk a little bit about your Wallflower series and your wall hangings? So I read that you use stoneware for the organic and coils.
Yes, the background is woven coils that's made out of ceramic stoneware, and I put a glaze on that. It's multi-fired, these pieces. So I have to make the ceramic coils, and I make them on a kiln shelf because I cannot pick that up. When it's green, it's going to fall apart. So I can put the kiln shelf right into the kiln to be bisque fired. Then I pull it out. And they're strong enough to handle at that time. And then I will glaze them, the coils, and then bisque them again. Okay. And then we pull them out, and now I can make the flowers. The flowers are made out of porcelain that have been colored with mason stains. So I can roll out paper-thin flowers.
Yes.
And, some of the flowers, the dahlias, I could make or spend 2.5 hours for one flower. If you count, each petal is made individual, one at a time, and then put together. And 2 hours later, I got one flower down, and 70 more to go. So, and I make them, and I sit them on the piece, and I use the leaves to help maybe wrap around the coil to hold them in place, and to hide the back part of the flower, and then I fire it again, high fire. So when the glaze on the coils melts, it fuses to the flowers, and that's what holds everything together.
There's glue. So whenever you use the porcelain and the stoneware, whenever you mix those clay bodies, is that just because they're so different, and the color of porcelain is just How come you mix the two? Like, how come the flowers aren't stoneware?
For the color, like you said, I'm putting rich mason stains color into the flowers. So you want a white background, and you're going to get a rich color. It's like painting on a white wall and then painting on a brown wall. That brown will come through and make the colors a little muddy. So the porcelain is for that reason, to get the nice bright colors from the mason stains.
Nice.
And it's also easier to roll paper thin slabs out of porcelain than it is stoneware.
So you said it takes 2 hours to do a flower sometimes. Can you give me a time zone of how long it takes to complete a piece on average for you, one of your wall hanging?
Okay. Well, it takes, several days to make the coil. Well, it depends on the piece. Let's just talk about a one coil. One tile, let's call it a tile, which is 17 by 16 inches, roughly that, 17 by 15. Half a day to take a couple hours to make the coils, but then it takes days for it to dry, a week to dry. Then you glaze it, or glaze it, biscuit again. Okay, and then the flowers, and I'll rearrange pieces of foam to figure out the composition where I want the flowers. And then I'll put pieces of paper on top of that, which will designate this is, a rose yellow, this is a carnation pink, and so forth. Figure out the color composition, and then figure out I have to make so many of these flowers and make them all, and that's going to take 3 or 4 days just to make the flowers, and then the last day to put them all on. Okay. In the show, there are several pieces that are 4 tiles put together. So the size is 26 inches by 26 inches. And there's 4 different panels. So there's about a week for each panel.
Wow.
So it takes a while to make these things.
Yeah.
Well, they look good.
Yeah, the effort is worth it. They're very beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I counted one that had 6 panels in it, and I got up to 630 flowers and then lost count. So.
Oh my god.
630. Oh my goodness. And then 2 hours
6
per
panel.
flower.
Yeah, some of the single-digit ones will range maybe from, maybe as little as 60 flowers up to 90 flowers on one panel.
Oh my goodness. And so wait, the panel is the whole piece itself, not the squares? Or is it? One
panel would be the single piece, which is, so it's 17 by 16, roughly.
Goodness.
And out of curiosity, because I will roll a coil out, 2 to 3 feet long, and weave it, and then roll another coil out and join it to the end of that coil and weave it, and then keep doing that. So it just keeps moving around and growing. And for one time, out of curiosity, I counted the coils and measured them. And then that one, 15 by 16 inch frame, there's, close to 90 feet of coil. If I took that coil and stretched it straight out.
That's so much fun.
So they're all just weaving together.
And is that just like is it putting them through each other? Or?
Yes. Yes, you'll get to see that spontaneously. I just start here, let's go under this one, and just whatever. Okay, it should go around here and back over to here, and I want to spread them out because I start out with about an inch thick coil, and it's spread out evenly, and then I go a little bit smaller, and then a little bit smaller, and then half inch at the end, which I fill in spots. So it's a variety of thickness throughout, but it just flows through, and if you try to follow it, you can, but you don't see any end. Because that near the end, I make sure you got 2 ends, and make sure this end comes here, and I'll weave over to this one, and then I join that end. So it's a continuous flow if you did try to follow the line.
That's really cool.
Wow, you can tell at that level of patience and effort, it's just a pure passion project. So I'm sure these pieces are just gonna
blow you away.
Yeah.
Well, that's the hope. I enjoy making them, and the challenge. I'm always trying to challenge myself. So we'll see where that goes. It just keeps moving on.
So, yeah, moving on, what would you say would be your next series or next inspiration for the next series in the future?
We started out with a variety of flowers, and then I did a series, I think I have 4 of them here, of just roses, but one would be on a black background, the coils, all pink of different sizes, just spread out field of roses. And, and then the last one I started, and I have the first one which I just finished actually last week, pulled out of the kiln, framed or got it set to be hung, and took pictures of it and boxed it up and brought it here. And it's kind of like sections. It's hard to explain. The title of that would be a maze, flower, rose maze.
Oh, cool.
Okay, but you'll have to see it. There's more, if you step away, you see more solid triangles maybe of a color. And as you get closer to it, those solid things are actually roses of all one color.
Oh my goodness.
And then another different color over in this triangle. They're hard to explain like that. You have to come see it.
Yeah. And so you, transitioning into the wall hanging pieces, we're doing some vessels with lids, right? Lidded vessels and stuff. How did you kind of make that transition? Was it just inspiration, or did you have like a idea suddenly?
Well, everything pretty well comes from something. Yes, you're right. And for the longest time, I was making lidded forms. Okay. And just go back to the beginning. It's like, okay, I'm having a hard time getting this round lid to fit perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That's my challenge. Get that lid to fit perfectly. And I figured it out. There's a reason why it was too loose or too tight. So then you challenged yourself. You got that perfect lid. Now, let's see if you can do an altered lid and get it to fit perfectly. So I started out doing that. And that's where these pieces are. None of the lids are round. They're all irregular shapes. Mm-hmm. Okay, but I got to the point where I can make each one of them fit perfectly. Mm-hmm. And then I said, okay, now where are you going to go from here? Mm-hmm. Well, can you put 2 lids on one pot? And then 3 lids on one pot. And I got up to 7 lids on one pot. Okay. In the museum here, they purchased one of my 3-lidded forms. So we pushed it that far, and then I'm kind of going, okay, I pushed it pretty far. I don't know where to go from here. But in the background, in my head, I'm always thinking of other things. Okay. And started thinking about what am I going to do next, or what do I want to do next. I was going to go on a sabbatical. This was, can't remember what year ago, but I was invited up to Stephen F. Austin State University to be a visiting artist. And this is going to be in the fall semester, so I was going to take sabbatical off there. So before that, Christmas break, actually it's upstate New York, taking my grandchildren skiing. In the middle of the night, I'm going, okay, next semester, and then fall semester, I'm going to be on break. What am I going to do? Because I don't want to do what I'm doing every day. It's my chance to, explore, experiment, and not worry about things failing because I'm exploring technique, way to go. And so, okay, I liked weaving coils, which I had done way back, but not with the flowers. But instead, I want to maybe do them 3-dimensional and put them on a base. That would be neat. And I'm doing this in the middle of the night while we're laying in bed. Mm-hmm. Wife's asleep, and I'm just wide awake, and my head's going. Then it was like, okay, what if I had some icing dripping down, and I put a cherry on top? Because with the grandchildren, we're always kidding. I'm trying to get them to say please, and it's like when they ask something without saying please, you go, what? Say please, okay, please. And say pretty please, pretty please with the cherry on top, and you go through the whole thing. So that's where that cherry came from. And I made a piece, okay, I developed the icing that would just drip down on my pieces. And when the sabbatical came, I went up and made a series of coil things, pieces that were on a base with, one had a cherry on top, the other one had 2 cherries and 3 cherries. And I quickly thought, okay, I can go so far with just doing cherries. What else can I do? So that brought me to, the sabbatical was over, but that brought me to flowers. Okay, I can put flowers on top of this. And there's endless possibilities there. Different color flowers, different types of flowers. So that's where this all started, in three-dimensional forms. And then I realized, okay, I liked my wall hangings of woven coils I did a while back. But what if I did them again, but this time with the flowers on top? So this all evolved, and that's where we're at right now.
That's so cool to hear the process of like one night you're just skiing in New York and then now you have like amazing pieces. That's
Yeah,
neat.
I couldn't sleep that night. My head was just drawing up all kinds of ideas and stuff.
Do you ever just like put them down on paper too, like while you're up in the middle of the night so you don't forget? Because I would forget.
Not in the middle of the night when I'm in bed. I just think about it, but during the day, it's like, oh, grab a napkin if I'm out for lunch or something. I had this idea. So you have a book of pictures in the book and of napkins or other loose pages in the book of all these little ideas that float around.
It's like your sketchbook or something.
Yeah, put a napkin in a sketchbook, just staple them together, and there you go.
Yeah, that's it. You just gather. When you're at a spot where you think of something and you don't have your sketchbook, just a scrap piece of paper and get it down.
Your lidded forms, can I just ask why so many little feet on them? I think it's adorable. It's my favorite part. And like the glazes you use, I love them. But like, why so many little feet?
Because I really love the medium clay, and I think this stuff it's got its own personality, its own characteristic. And these guys are, to me, they come alive, and they could see them moving around.
Fun.
I've had people describe them as sea creatures or Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
You know, all kinds of different ways of looking at them. And I joke sometimes. I say, yes, in the middle of the night, they're all set up in the gallery, and we close the door and leave. These guys get down and dance on the floor, and then when we come back, they jump back up on the pedestal, and sometimes they're in different spots. So
That's fun. I was telling my coworker yesterday, I was like, well, I was looking at your stuff, and I was like, it looks like it was like mutated if it was like dipped in like a little acid, but like in a good way. I was like, very complimentary. It looks like a mutated vessel. But I loved it.
But that's what makes it so interesting and fun and unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, I think they all come alive. They all have nice movement to them, and they can flow and everything like that. So the glaze, I wanted to, complement that and go with it as well.
So you said that clay has no boundaries. Whenever you were in school for art, or whenever you were in school, did you ever have a medium you didn't like or that you found was very limiting?
I like all the mediums. They're fun. But clay for me was the most that you could just do anything with it. Mm-hmm. Wood is good, but you can just do so much with wood. Metal, you can do a lot with metal. It's all great stuff, but I don't know, it's just the feel of the clay in your hands. You just squish it and feel the plasticity of it. And you can work with clay when it's soft. You can work with it when it's in liquid state. You could work just a dry powder of clay and create something. You could work with it after it's fired and create something. So you can work in different stages, which totally depends on what your end result you want to be. And you figure out the best way to get that end result, whether it's with stiff clay, soft clay, and so on. It's just a medium. I can do whatever I want with it. I can push it any way I want. It's just a matter of where do I want to take it, and it will go there.
So it sounds like you always lean towards sculpture and 3D work. Did you ever do painting, printmaking, drawing?
In school, you take those.
You have to.
You take the drawing class, you take the painting class, and they just didn't excite me as much as getting my hands dirty and getting into things, The one thing I could not do, and then did not take a class of, is glass blowing.
Oh, fun, yeah.
Because I'm just I want to grab
it, yeah.
the clay I want to grab it and twist it and stuff, and you cannot do that with the blown glass. It'll burn you.
Burn your lungs up and all that stuff. Yeah.
Clay has silica, but that's lava, so there's a difference there.
I've noticed a lot of like bioorganic imagery, especially with like the coils, can kind of look like vines, and the flowers are obviously organic. And do you lean more toward organic imagery? Is it on purpose? Is it kind of a happy accident?
It's probably a happy accident, right? Just the way it goes. Yeah, I'm not anything about I have to do organic. There are some things that have hard edge, which is the opposite of nice, spontaneous, organic movement. But yeah, it just went that way without
even trying.
Without trying.
Well, you're saying the vessels have little feet and they come alive at night. It's just kind of adding life into your pieces, I guess, without even realizing it. But it's not a straight lidded vessel or a box. It's really, it's lifelike. It has life. So that's really cool about it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And before all this came about, I was making coils that were 12 to 14 inches in diameter.
Wow.
And they stood 3 to 4 feet tall. And those came from just a happy accident. You have to be aware of what you're doing. And some of these mistakes are great things. They don't just, that's not what I wanted, throw it aside and keep working. Because I was rolling the coil out. And you know how it can go and mess up, which that's what happened. But then I go, neat. A little thing about 3 inches tall. I said, that looks neat. But at this scale, it just looks like a coil that got messed up. But what if we blew that up? That 1 inch thick coil became 14 inches thick. And they became figures. So I did a series of that, and I was going out to Arizona to wood fire with Don Wrights at his place, and thought, okay, well, no, this one was, I worked with Don earlier. This was up at Flagstaff, Arizona State University with Jason Hess. And I was going out there for a couple of weeks in the summer, do some wood firing. And I thought, okay, these coils, if I made a bunch of little models and then what if I blew that up? So I did. And all of a sudden, your coil is 14-inch thick, and they're 3-4 feet long. And I made 16 of these back in Houston, and bisque fired them and threw them on a flatbed truck, tied them all down with foam in between, taking them out to Arizona to wood fire.
Wow.
Okay. And then when I'm looking at this, after I have them on the flatbed, all these coils, I said, that looks like a Jackson Pollock action painting in 3 dimensions. So that is neat. So, stuck that in the back of my head and went out and did the firing and got all this done. And then came back later, and all of a sudden I'm weaving smaller coils because that bigger scale on the wall, 14-inch coils, no, that's not practical. So let's bring the coil back to a 1 inch to a 1/2 inch. Weave it together and throw it on the wall, and it's like a action painting of Jackson Pollock, but in 3 dimensions. So they just keep coming from each idea, and you just can't do it at the moment because you're focused on this piece here, but you put it in the back of your head and start thinking about it, and it starts growing into a better idea, and then you move forward with that series.
Are these coils hollow or are they solid?
Yeah, the big guys, those are slabs.
That you roll?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I roll a slab out and then I put it together.
Wow.
Right. I will do the symposium. I think that's tomorrow, right? Today's Thursday. Tomorrow, and I got to do a slide lecture. So if you're there, you'll see a couple of these. You'll see, the altered lidded forms and the big coils and the whole series.
Oh, nice. So they're going to get to see it before this airs. So it'll be like,
sneak peek.
yeah, the people who go are going to get a sneak peek. That's going to be cool.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if people just want to see pictures of your work, do you have a website or?
Yes, you just simply go to royhanscom.com. And
Perfect.
got a nice website there. It has most of everything. The last couple pieces I've done in the last month or two are not in there yet.
Gotta add those on there.
Yes. I'm too busy getting ready for this.
Oh, I know. I know it.
It's always, I gotta get one more piece. I can make one more piece. So,
It's been so fun talking to you today. Thank you for joining us.
And thank you for inviting me. I had a good time. It was good.